Junior, we are here. We have arrived to baseball season. There you go. Take us out to the ball game, why don't you? So thank you,
Overwhelming
everybody.
excitement.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us here today for our final, exit out of basketball to some degree and opening the doors on baseball. The season starts tomorrow, April 1st. With the first game happening at 1:05 against the Toronto Blue Jays and the New York Yankees. So we're all looking forward to that. We want to thank you for taking the opportunity to share some time with us and watch this video today. If at the end of the video you find that this video provided you some excitement about the MLB season, some interest, and ultimately some knowledge going in and taking that forward, feel free to like, subscribe, or comment below. This is Offside and Out of Bounds. I'm Adam.
I'm Junior. Let's go.
Okay, Junior, here we are. We are live. So thank you again for everybody for joining us here today. We are going to break down a few different things on today's show, including our power rankings, a quick overview of each of the divisions, who we think is going to win the various awards in the Major League Baseball, and ultimately, who do we think is going to make the playoffs, the wild cards, as well as who our prediction is for the World Series and the winner of the World Series. Junior, any initial thoughts before we jump into our slides today?
This is the time of year. It's the time of year that I look forward to, because not only does it signal an end to winter and a new beginning and a rebirth of this game, but it's a lead into summer and sitting in the stands, however social distancing it will be at the stadiums this year, grabbing a cold beer with your buddies, sitting down and just watching this beautiful game take place in front of you is just it brings like a little crocodile tear to my face. I love this game, like inside and out, through and through, and there's no better time for me than opening day, and we're less than 24 hours away from it. So I'm super excited.
Awesome. I mean, when you look at the game of baseball compared to, some of the other major sports, it really is such a strategic game. There's so many things happening that, a lot of people wouldn't pick up.
For sure.
And there's so many reasons that are going on behind the scenes as to why those things are happening. So I'm looking very, very forward to this. Let's pull up our power rankings and start there. All right, so these are our overall power rankings.
Yeah.
Our initial thoughts, assuming everything is perfect and healthy with these teams. Why don't you kick us off?
Sure. So my top five right now are Dodgers, Braves, Padres, Mets, and the Jays. Now, obviously, I know the Jays is a bit of an outside of the box type of thought process in terms of power rankings, but there's not much to not like about this team right now. The moves they made in the offseason were absolutely fantastic, and they put themselves in a really strong place. Springer's going to start the year on the IL, so is Robbie Ray, and they got some issues in the back of the bullpen. But the good thing is they got a lot of live arms in there, so I'm putting them a lot higher than some people are. I think they're sitting in at 9, but I like them in that 5 spot.
Yeah,
and you also notice I don't have the Yankees in there. You do. I don't like their pitching staff. I don't think they're a top 3 staff like they are. I don't like them as a top 5 staff. I beg to differ. They're even a top 10 staff, so that's why they're not on my list.
Fair enough. The Dodgers, Padres, Braves, who I really like, and Yankees and Mets. So, a couple of New York teams there. I know you've mentioned that the Yankees, you don't see their pitching staff to be in that top 5 on our podcast, which you're welcome to go check out on Spotify if you want an in-depth, detailed. Junior provides a wicked overview of each of those divisions. But I still like the Yankees, and I think they're a power team, and I don't think pitching's necessarily going to hurt them that much. I still think they're going to be extremely powerful on the offensive end, and I think that's going to carry through them very well this season. Let's take a look a little bit more in depth on the power rankings here as we break it down a little further. So offense. So I have the Dodgers, Padres, Yankees, Braves, Phillies.
And I got the Padres, Braves, Dodgers, Jays, Yankees.
So you agree the
Pretty
Yankees
similar.
have a pretty solid offense then?
They do. I'd say 1 through 8. The only weak link in there is going to be Chrome Dome Gardner. The other 7, just fantastic bats that can go off each and every night. But the great thing about baseball, it's not just about that home run ball, but they've definitely got some guys that can hit the ball. Now, our lists are pretty similar. We both got Padres, Dodgers, Yanks, Braves, and then Phillies and Jays are the only difference. The only reason why I've got the Padres kind of above the Dodgers as well as the Braves is I think that the offense is going to be a little more dynamic. I think the Dodgers, they did lose Jock Peterson and Kike Hernandez. Obviously, Kike wasn't that kind of involved in the offense where Jock was. But I think in terms of that depth, it's going to put a bit of a charge into them. So they're still good. Like, don't get me wrong. They're still a really good team. I just think the offense drops off a little bit.
Okay. What about the speed on that team?
Still a very, very, very quick team. But, outside of maybe Mookie, there isn't be anyone with like double digits stolen bases or guys that are going to steal 40 bags or anything like that. But still, they're a very positionally responsible team, and they don't take chances when they don't need to. So,
yeah, the one thing I do love about baseball are these high-powered offensive teams, and watching a game like that can really get quite exciting. Let's take a look at some of the rotations here. So I got the Dodgers. I mean, they did a lot of, they continue to add depth to that rotation. Padres, Yankees, Nationals, Braves. Again, I know you don't agree with me on the Yankees, which is okay. What do you like about the Nationals here? Because I see that you got them on yours as well.
When you've got Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin as your 1-2-3 punch, I mean, it's going to be hard, especially if you're going to get in there on a Saturday afternoon game and you've got Scherzer, and then you come back on Sunday and you've got Strasburg, and then you come back on Monday and you've got Corbin. I think that they're gonna be able to hold off any lengthy losing streaks, and they're going to be able to continue win streaks with those 3 guys at the top of the rotation. And their bullpen isn't a slouch either, and neither is their offense. But the rotation wise, they're a really strong rotation.
Yeah, it's tough when you get into those 3-4 game matchups, facing those guys, 1, 2, 3, and possibly back to 1 if they're running on a short rotation, depending against the team. You also have the Dodgers, Padres, and Nationals, Braves, Reds to round it out.
Yeah, the Padres, I like the additions they made this year. Obviously, they're huge with Yu Darvish and Blake Snell. But funny enough, the amount of money they spent in terms of prospect capital and getting these guys there, I think there's still a few rings underneath that Dodgers rotation because even the Dodgers beefed up. So, it's going to be a very interesting arms race out there in the NL West. So it's going to be a very exciting year to watch those two go at each other.
Absolutely. Continuing with pitching, the bullpen is probably the most important part of the game once you've gotten out there, your offense has done its thing. I got the White Sox, Brewers, Yankees, Mets, Padres. Mets, giant asterisks. They got to stay healthy. The whole pitching rotation and the bullpen, everybody needs to stay healthy on that team. What do you like about some of these teams?
To kind of stick with the Mets, they got Diaz in there in terms of the linchpin of that bullpen, and you're bang on right. The Mets go down, they're going to put too much strain on that bullpen like they usually do, and someone's going to end up with an early season TJ, or they're going to be on the shelf for a while. So you're right with those starters, and it's right with any team. You got to have starters who are going to pitch you into the 6th, 7th inning. Hand it over to the kind of the middle of the bullpen rather than the bottom of the bullpen. Get your strong mid-relief guys in there to hand it over to the setup guy, to your closer. So when you're talking setup and closing, that's why I have the Yankees on my number 1. I don't like their starting rotation, but I like their bullpen. They've got a bunch of young pieces in there with top of my head. There is, geez, I can't remember his name. My goodness. Devi Garcia, who might actually end up starting in place until Luis Severino comes back. But they've got a lot of nice pieces there. I think a lot of flexibility too. A lot of those guys are still they're on two ways, so they're not going to lose anyone there. The Rays are still the Rays. They still have a strong bullpen. And the Brewers I like mainly because their closer Josh Hader he should be lights out this year. And then I think the Twins are underrated as well in terms of their bullpen.
Yeah, I know you like them a little bit going into this season. Moving along here, players. Mike Trout, Tatis Jr., Mookie Betts, Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna. These guys can definitely hit the ball. You got a similar lineup here.
Yeah,
with the exception of Jarrett Cole.
Yeah, it's nice to see that you have Trout on top. Any of these power rankings that don't have Trout on top, they should have their BBWA card pulled from them immediately and sent to me because you don't know the game of baseball. Mike Trout is the most consistent player over the last 10 years. This guy's going to he's already having a Hall of Fame career, and he's going to continue to do that. And I think he's just getting better as time moves on. Again, you could have Soto, Acuna, and Tatis, interchangeable within 3 to 4 rungs. I think for me, you got Mookie Betts a bit higher than I do. I have him a bit lower. He might take a bit of a step back with a little bit less protection. And Garrett Cole is Garrett Cole. The guy's got one hell of an arm, and you can't really talk bad about him. And I like Juan Soto a bit more than Tatis Jr. But, like you said, these guys all have big bats, very dynamic.
Yeah, and definitely going to produce a lot on offense this season. Granted, everybody stays healthy. Okay, so what we're going to do now, again, you can go and listen to the podcasts, which are now available on YouTube. Junior, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, they are.
They are available on YouTube as well to go through a much more in-depth view of each of these. But Junior, why don't you give us a little roundup of the AL East, maybe some quick moves. What do you think about these teams? This is the most competitive division in baseball historically.
Yeah.
Maybe the NL West might be very competitive this year as well.
Well, every year it's always the AL East. It's where bad teams come to die because the offense, the staff, these are teams that spend to where they need to. When you look at the top of the class, this division is the Jays and the Yankees. I think the Rays are going to take a step back this year. I don't think they did enough in the offseason to kind of stay at that same step as the Yanks and Jays are. The Sox, I mean, it's been a couple of rough months for the Sox in Boston. But the good thing is it's a great atmosphere to play at Fenway. If you haven't been, go enjoy it. It's the church of baseball. And for Baltimore, at least you can have some good crab cakes because there isn't really much else going on there. As long as Chris Davis still has that uniform on, this team is destined to be kept in the closet. Couple of nice prospects, but again, if you have some kind of package that you're paying for, make sure they're not included because it's going to be agonizing to watch that team play this year.
Yeah. Okay. The AL Central. So we got the Tigers, the Royals, Twins, White Sox, and the Indians. Who do you like? Who do you like in this Central division? I think this is an interesting division. I like the White Sox here.
It is because you've got two teams in the Sox and the Twins that are very similar in terms of their skill level. And then you've got the Indians and the Royals, who, again, are very similar in what they're bringing to the table. Yeah. And then you've got the lonely Detroit Tigers. The only thing about them, Miguel Cabrera, it's probably going to be his last year. Miggy's been around the league for a long time. He's a Class A act. If you haven't watched him play, watch one Tigers game. I know it might be tough, but just to see, one of the greats over the last, 15 years of his career. Yeah. He's been a great major leaguer. The guy's never in trouble. Like, he's just a Class A act. So just take a look at him so you could say you saw him when he was still playing. Yeah. But for me, it's going to be a 2-horse race. Twins, Sox. And then depending on if the Royals can catch lightning in a bottle, they did do some pretty decent moves this offseason. Benintendi went over there, but he's going to be now in left field without a green monster, so I don't know how he's going to feel at Kauffman because that's a big stadium. And then the Indians, without Lindor, not getting much back in return for him. Shane Bieber is going to be the bright spot as well as Jose Ramirez. So, they're kind of both in the same place. But, I like Minnesota and Chicago kind of on that even scale right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get into the playoff predictions, and I think those teams are both looking well poised for that. Moving along here to the West, American League West Division. We've got a lot of teams with very similar logos, which is very interesting. They didn't want to get too original here. So we've got the Astros, the Rangers, the Angels, Oakland Athletics, and the Seattle Mariners. These teams, I'm really kind of liking Oakland. I also like the Angels. What's happened with this AL West division? What changes have they made, and where do you see some of these teams kind of moving along?
Well, you've got still, I'd say, maybe 4 pretty decent teams here. You're coming in and off a short season, so it's really hard to take stats from last year and kind of extrapolate them and move them forward. Now, Houston took a step back. They still made the playoffs, but they took a step back last year. I can't see them taking another step back. There's too much talent on that team. And then Oakland, they lost a few pieces, but they also retooled a little bit. They got a couple of really good arms in Jesus Luzardo and AJ Puck. And then you've got a really dynamic young catcher in Sean Murphy. In Houston, you've got all the same old names. No one's left except for Springer. Well, Brantley left to go to the Jays and then didn't really go to the Jays and then ended up back in Houston. And then in Seattle, you've got Kyle Lewis, reigning Rookie of the Year. And you got Marco Gonzalez, who's kind of got that ace stuff. The Angels, obviously you've got Trout, Ohtani, and then another guy that might be leaving is Albert Pujols. So if you have not seen an Angels game, watch one. Watch Albert. He's a great guy. I was sitting behind the dugout about 3 years ago and kept calling him Pujol. And he turned around and looked at me and laughed. And he was like, that's a good one. So this is a guy who can take it. He just loves the game so much. He loves the cheers. He loves the jeers. Yeah. And then the Texas Rangers are kind of on an island on their own. Yeah. The one thing I did like that they did today is they 1-2 DFA'd Odor, Rougned Odor. Not because he, knocked out Bautista, could care. It was hilarious when he knocked him out on his feet. But it's funny that he got the 1-2 punch from the Rangers and sent packing. And I don't like him. I don't like his game. The high leg kick and the batting stance is just so annoying. Yeah. So it's nice to see that I don't have to watch that this year, hopefully. But, for me, the class of the division's got to be Houston and Oakland. The Angels, I don't think they did enough. Their pitching staff's not strong enough, I think, to compete with Houston and Oakland. But I've been wrong before about the Angels, so I guess we have to wait and see.
Yeah, get out there and definitely watch Pujols. I mean, he's contributed so much to the game of baseball over these years, and you got to get these legends in while you can.
And he's also got milestones coming up too, so those are always important, in a career that you're looking to get to that next step. So,
yeah, definitely expect him to be in the Hall of Fame over the next few ballots. Okay, moving over to the National League, starting with the National League East here. We got Miami, the Mets, Philly, Washington Nationals, and the Atlanta Braves. I'm really excited to see the Braves, and we kind of mentioned and touched on the Mets a little bit, but again, health is going to be a huge factor in that pitching staff, and ultimately not leaving it all up to the bullpen to save them. Why don't you break down a little bit about this division for us?
Sure. So Mets were busy bringing in Lindor, and then about half of the journeyman Blue Jays is on that roster right now. So it's kind of funny to see that this team is so competitive in the NL West when those guys weren't competitive in the AL East. Yeah. But they made some moves. They got a lot better. I'm not a huge fan of the starting rotation outside of DeGrom. Too many injury issues. And, if Diaz gets overworked, he's a guy that can drop. So, I don't put them at the top. They're there. but I think the class of the division is definitely the Braves. They did a lot of tooling in the offseason. That pitching staff is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
The offense is spread out. Washington, the same thing. Great staff, spread out offense. I think Philly kind of dropped the ball and they didn't do as much as they could. I think their pitching staff's going to get exposed a little bit. And then the Marlins, Jeter, good on you. You're doing things the right way through youth, through development. So, they were a little flash in the pan last year in terms of making the playoffs. They're going to regress. I don't see them making them again. But, it's just nice to see that he has this massive ownership group that's like, you know what? We don't know baseball. You do. Just do what you got to do. And he's doing it. And This is going to be a rock-solid team in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, they're going to need some time for sure. But yes, I've always been a big fan of Jeter, as a player, and to see him step into this role here and build it from the ground up, from the feet up. It's going to be important for that team to get back into winning franchise. So, okay, NL Central. We got the Cubs, Reds, Brewers, Cards, and the Pirates. Who do you like in this, and who made the most moves in the offseason position themselves well to win this division?
Oddly enough, none of these teams really did a whole lot in way of overhauling anything. The class of the division's got to be Chicago. Closely behind, you've kind of got St. Louis, who's getting a bit older, and Cincinnati with Etobicoke's very own Joey Votto. Milwaukee, they've got a great closer. They've got a great starter in Brandon Woodruff, and then they've got Christian Yelich. But outside of that, they're, maybe Keston Hiura, you toss him in that bag too. Not a whole lot elsewhere from that. Pittsburgh, I think Pittsburgh is a game in Pittsburgh is going to be about as entertaining as going to Randyland, the art museum. So, not really bored. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, no worries. Randyland and
Randyland, the art museum, Pittsburgh. Yeah, there's nothing going on in Pittsburgh right now. They've literally gotten rid of everybody. So, go to Randyland. It's probably a great art museum. So.
Yeah. Okay, moving over to the National League West, which is a great division, hosting the champs, LA Dodgers. So we got the San Diego Dodgers, San Francisco, Arizona, and Colorado. Dodgers won last year, beat the Rays. I still think they're going to do very, very well this season. But who else is on this roster here that's looking good?
Well, this is an easy one to call. You've got two teams here. You've got San Diego and the Dodgers. Yeah. These two are going to go at each other all year long. Big brother Dodger, little brother San Diego. They're constantly in an arms race with each other. And, San Diego's really been spending the coin to try and catch up in terms of talent. But, outside of that, then you've got like a second ring, which is going to be your Giants. They could be competitive this year. With Yastrzemski there. They've got still some decent pieces to kind of build around, but they're going to be a couple of moves away at the deadline to really kind of sneak into that wild card spot. Arizona, outside of Joakim Soraya, Madison Bumgarner, and Zach Gallen, they've already gone through that fire sale, so they're still kind of in rebuild mode. So I wouldn't expect much from them. And then Colorado, a great thing that I heard is Colorado Springs has a really up-and-coming food scene, so you're probably better off going there than going to a Rockies game.
Yeah, exactly. Check out some of the food trucks in the local area.
Yeah, exactly. Right? This team, they basically got a bag of laundry back for Nolan Arenado, who's the most dynamic third baseman in the league, yeah. I'd say. One of. And now you got Trevor Story here on an island. So hopefully they move him at the deadline, continue the rebuild, so that Story can kind of get on with his career and do something, because he's an absolutely phenomenal shortstop and could definitely be useful for someone, come deadline time.
Awesome. We're going to move into the awards, but just before that, I want to let everyone know that we are dropping a Forgotten Ones. So we've mentioned this a couple of times now. Forgotten Ones is going to highlight some of those players. We're starting with baseball, that people have kind of forgotten That premieres on April 3rd, I believe at 8 a.m. on
Yeah.
the YouTube channel. So please check that out. And then we're going to be dropping them on Tuesday, the following Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that. And we're going to hope to continue that and look at other sports to kind of pick out these players.
Yeah, I got a list right here on the board
there you
of
go.
all the guys that I'm going through. So
we want to let them know who the premier is, or is it a big secret?
It's Shoeless Joe. One of my favorite players from the past. So it was fun to kind of tell some stories that the old timers told me and to kind of share some of those things with everybody. So it's a great episode. And then the following ones, these guys that I started off with, it's still kind of fresh, so people kind of still know who they are. They haven't really disappeared yet, but they definitely have the opportunity to. But we're going to open up the history books and definitely bring you some guys that you've never heard of, but were actually, PTPers, like primetime players, but just time forgot them.
Awesome. So please join us and tune in 8 a.m. on Saturday, April 3rd, and then the following Tuesday and Tuesdays following. Okay, moving over to awards. Cy Young. Got some great players here. Who do you like out of these Cy Young candidates in the American League? What do you think?
Could you put some tougher pictures up here? Like, this is tough.
There's a lot of great arms in this photo.
Yeah, there is. That's tough. I mean, I think Lance Lynn's going to have a great season in Chicago. Marco Gonzalez, like I did mention him, he's kind of on that cusp. Yeah. Kenta Maeda's coming off a great year. Shane, not Justin Bieber. I just don't think he's going to have the support that he needs in Cleveland. Garrett Cole's right there. I mean,
he would win it.
Yeah, he wouldn't be a bad choice. And then if you look at a dark horse like Ryu with the offense he's got behind him, he could be there right now. I think he was third in voting last year. So, I would think probably a 2-horse race between Cole and Ryu. I think you'd probably be around there. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Cole here. I know, again, you're not a huge fan generally of the Yankees rotation, but I do like Cole, and I think he's going to be the shining star on that team. And I think he's going to position himself well to be a leading candidate for the Cy Young for sure. Let's take a look at the National League here. I mean, these guys will just blow the socks right off you with a couple of pitches.
That's even tougher. Oh, man. Jeez.
I think the Dodgers are so strong. I mean,
I
can't hate really on them at all. I think they've done a lot. I think they've positioned themselves well to go back-to-back this year. I'm going to go with Kershaw in the NL.
Interesting pick. If I was just to go through, just deduce the situation here. So starting off with Blake Snell, his first year in the National League, there could be some things he's got to get used to. Some adjustments. Trevor Bauer, he pitched okay last year. Playoffs, he hit that next level. Scherzer. Yu Darvish is coming off a decent year, and he's been pitching pretty well. Jake DeGrom, I mean, he's the ace of that staff, probably the top pitcher in that division. And then Kershaw, who you can never count out, Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to go with DeGrom.
Okay.
I think he's going to stay healthy, and he's going to hit this year.
Health is always a factor, right, with any of these guys. So, we wish them the best and make sure that they have a nice, healthy season, because we hate to see guys go down mid-season and kind of botch the results for that team. So, okay, moving along here, the AL MVP. Got a couple of J's here.
Yeah. Well, I think they're both going to have solid years. I think Jose Ramirez is going to have a solid year. A lot of people sleeping on Judge. Just looking at the rankings. Yeah, a lot of people are sleeping on him.
I love the Jays too, and we're from Toronto, so there's a novice connection there. But I'm a big Yankees fan as well, and I think Judge is still an elite hitter, and I think he's going to do very, very well. And I hope he thinks that people are counting him out, so he shows up every night.
I'm just going to be a fanboy and go with Trout for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I mean, hey, nothing wrong with that. He's
But if
done
I
a
had to
lot to
pick,
earn him that respect. Give us
yeah,
another one.
I'll go dark horse with George Springer.
Okay. I like that pick. Okay, moving over to the National League. So MVP, lot here, got a couple of arms.
Oh man, this is a lot of talent in one photo. Too much. Problem is that all these guys are going to have good years.
Yeah.
The only one who I can see breaking down a little bit would be Kershaw, just because of his age. When you look at Acuna, Soto, and Tatis, they're young, and well, Tatis has got a bit of a shoulder issue right now, so I don't know how much that's going to factor in. And Machado's been having some really good years out in San Diego, but I'm going to go off the board and go with Juan Soto.
Okay. I'm
Juan
liking
Soto.
Juan Soto. I'm going to go with Tatis Jr. I think he's got a lot to his game. He's got a great bat. He's got some speed on him. I know it was the shoulder, but I don't think that's going to be an issue for him. I think he's doing his rehab and taking care of his body. He's going to be just fine. Really dynamic player. So moving along here, the Hank Aaron Award. Who
We
is
lost
going to
him
hit
this
the
year.
most home runs?
I was a big fan of Hank Aaron.
Great player.
It was
Legend.
sad that we lost him this year. But nice to see that there's a trophy. Well, it has been for a while, but this kind of culminates everything. Cody Bellinger. I look at those two guys in New York, and there's a lot of pop coming out of them. And for me, it's tough for me to gamble on health. And Stanton always seems to have some health issues during the year. And Judge, the last couple of years, has some issues. Tatis has some issues right now. So for me, give me such a homer on this. Give me Vladdy. And my dark horse is Soto.
Vladdy's definitely got a shot if he's consistent, right?
And he's lost a crap ton of weight. I don't know if you've seen him. He looks phenomenal. Like he's ready to go. Like he's a thoroughbred that's been primed.
Yeah. He's been like that almost his whole natural born life. I'm going to double down on Judge.
Okay.
I'm going all in on Judge. Again, I think the Yankees are going to be a real problem this year. I'm not worried about the pitching staff. I think Judge is going to do very, very well. I think he's going to hit very, very well this year. And, he's going to knock a lot of home runs over that wall.
He can do it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Judge. He's just got so much power. Okay, we're moving into our division picks, our wild card picks. For the most part, our lineups look relatively different. It's just kind of positioning for them. But I got the Yankees winning the division, White Sox winning the division, and the Angels winning the division. Primarily behind Trout's bat.
Yeah.
And then the Jays, Rays, Twins, Athletics, and Houston rounding off the wild cards.
Okay. Mine is similar to yours. I've got the Yankees. I like the Twins a bit more than the White Sox, just because I don't know what you're going to get out of Liam Hendricks in that bullpen. I think Houston's going to come back with a storm this year. I think the Jays and the Yanks, it's going to come down to the last couple of weeks, so I got to put them up in their wild card. And the Rays haven't shown me any reason why they shouldn't be, so I got to keep them there. I love Oakland. I do have the Sox there. And then I also have the Angels just sneaking into the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, these are all really, really solid teams. They're going to make for a very, very competitive full regular season, which is going to be very, very nice because I really didn't appreciate a 60-game season last year. I just don't think it's enough.
No.
Baseball has its peaks and valleys, and injuries are part of the game, and you need some of that time to bring some of these guys back into the rotation and whatnot. Okay, moving over to the National League. Again, I couldn't talk more highly about the Dodgers. I think they are just an incredibly well-built team. I think they're very, very poised to go back-to-back this year. The
Agreed.
Braves, love them. Cards, Mets, Nationals, Brewers, Padres, Cubs.
You got the
Those are
Brewers in
wild
there, right?
cards.
Okay. Yeah, we're pretty much kind of in there. I just have the Phillies instead of the Brewers, which again, anything can happen. That NL East sent 4 teams to the playoffs last year, so it could definitely do it again. With the teams they've got in there, so could definitely see that going down. Yeah, we're pretty much right on point. I just have the Cubs winning over the Cardinals in that division.
Fair enough. Okay, now we look at the World Series, the big show. So we both got the Dodgers there. I don't think that's any surprise for either of us. We've spoken off camera quite a bit, and we both love the Dodgers in this position. They did a lot to continue to be competitive and didn't let themselves kind of get in their own way just by trying to keep the status quo. And I got the Yankees there. I got the Yankees coming into the AL East. It's such a tough division. I think they're going to push through, and who knows what happens. There might be some trades. Maybe able to get an extra guy in the rotation. As we
don't need a couple. Don't need 2 or 3 or more arms.
I think they're going to be all right. I think they're going to come through, and I have the Dodgers winning in 7.
Okay, like you, I have the Dodgers there. And a surprise to most, and this is not me being a homer at all. I just think that the things that the Jays were lacking in their organization were addressed. When you put Springer in center field, you're solidifying that outfield offense, which is something they needed to do. They did not have direction or a captain out there. So now when I'm looking at Springer, and I've got Gurriel Jr., who is an OPS monster, and this guy just loves hitting the cover off the ball.
Yeah.
And then when I go into right field and I'm looking at Teoscar or Grichuk, I'm hoping more Teoscar than Grichuk. I really like the look of that outfield, the bats that are there, the OPS and the home run potential. And then when I look in the infield and all I see is vibrant youth with big bats and skill and pedigree and lineage. When you start at first from Tellez, you have Biggio's kind of in a no man's land, and then you've got Bichette, Marcus Semien, you've got Vladdy Guerrero Jr., and then you've got Reese McGuire and Danny Jansen behind the plate. I just think that offense is so dynamic and so well spread that they're not going to depend on the same guy night in and night out. So I see them surprising everybody this year. My only thing that I would say is if Nate Pearson and Steven Matz can take that step up, then I think that they might have a shot of even winning it. But at this point, I've got the Dodgers in 6.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that all comes together. I mean, the Jays like to hit the ball, right? I mean, this is a franchise thing. They like to hit the ball. So if they're able to be very efficient at doing that night in and night out, and like you said, get production from various players on the team and not having to rely on 1 or 2 guys to make it happen, I think they're definitely going to do very well. I don't see them in the series. I do see the Yankees there, but I mean, if the Jays were there, I wouldn't be happier. That's for sure. Would definitely be very, very excited about that. Okay, awesome. So that wraps our slideshow. Just some final thoughts. Just what this season is going to mean for the fans. Getting the full season and that means baseball every night for a very, very long time, well into September, October. I mean, this is what we wait for.
Yeah.
Just oodles and oodles and oodles of games. They don't rest in baseball. They only get 3-4 games off a month, right? So it's just baseball, baseball, baseball. So just give us some final thoughts here on what this means to you. I know you're a huge, huge baseball fan.
It's going to be a long year. It's going to be a grueling year, and you have to look at the guys. I mean, especially the ones coming from families that were born in baseball. These guys have been through this since they were kids, traveling on the road with their parents, growing up in the clubhouse. It's a grueling season. It can take a lot of toll on your body. The fact that you're away from your family on the buses, on the planes, it's grueling. And it's all for our entertainment. So in the last 18 months where there hasn't been a whole lot to be happy about, I think everything's starting to settle up, and the vaccines and whatever. I'm not going to bring up COVID all the time because there isn't a need to, because there's light at the end of the tunnel. But to get back into baseball when the fans are going to start coming in, and I think it's important for society to start taking those steps forward. And baseball is one thing that can unite everybody. You've seen it with pennant races. You've seen it with home run races. You've seen it with guys that are on streaks when they're getting close to DiMaggio. It unites everybody, and that's why I think this game is so near and dear to me. Is that you could be an outsider and get swept up into it, and the next thing you know, you're buying jerseys and hats, and you're ordering counterfeit stuff from China, and it's falling apart when you're going to the ballpark and you're getting laughed at. And that didn't happen to me, but I'm just saying it happens to people. I've seen it. So it's an important thing. And, I've been going to a lot of baseball games, since I was, 6 years old, sitting on the frozen bleachers in Exhibition Stadium in the middle of April when it's still snowing.
Yep.
So this game, is very near and dear to me. And this time of year is always a very happy one. So I'm looking forward to the season. I want everyone to stay healthy. Support local as much as possible. If you're going to go out and watch a game, go out to a local pub. Don't go to the big places. Support these small guys, because small business in our countries it's what built us. So we gotta give back to them a little bit. But I'm looking forward to a good year and a story. Yeah.
Absolutely. I got a shout out. We got a couple of comments here coming from Johnny Boy. So we gotta just shout him out real quick. He said, "No Trout, no doubt it's Trout." So I'm thinking for the MVP is what he's saying, or possibly for the home runs. He didn't specify, and his favorite sport is also baseball. So a big shout out to Johnny. You mentioned there'll be fans in the stands, which will help for viewership and just to get the players back. If there's a sport that wants that fan, I think interaction. I think baseball is that one that really kind of stands out for me. The fans get the most involved at a baseball game with the wave, just the whole experience and the nostalgia of going to a game, the smell of those stands and the hot dog and popcorn, just all that stuff just brings you to life. So it's going to be great for TV viewing, and I think we're in for a really, really interesting season. A lot of teams did a lot of change-ups here, and it's just going to be great to have another sport back in the rotation that's going to help to offer some incredible highlights every day, and lots and lots and lots of programming. So looking forward to that. We want to remind everybody again, the Forgotten Ones, April 3rd, 8 o'clock on our YouTube channel. Please join us and take a look at that. Junior does an incredible job with Shoeless Joe, and then every Tuesday after we'll be looking at pushing another one of those out. So please check that out.
If you're a fan and you have a player that you are absolutely in love in, and no one knows who they are, drop a comment. Let us know. DM us on Instagram. Send us a note on YouTube or wherever. We'll make a go of it. We'll do some research. We'll put together a show on them, and we love to hear feedback. So comment, subscribe, like, so you don't miss our stuff. Because we've got some great stuff coming out, not just because we've made it, but I'm telling you, there's some great stuff coming out. And the great thing about baseball is it just lends to content, and we're going to pump it out. You can see that we pumped out a fantasy podcast. So if you're in fantasy leagues and your draft hasn't happened yet, go check those out. We give you some sleeper picks that you can pick up in the later rounds. Give you some tips and tricks on how to win your league. But yeah, if there's something that you're looking for that you're missing from your baseball diet, let us know. Or a basketball diet, or whatever sport that is yours, let us know, and we'll make a go of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want a more in-depth review of all of the divisions, check out our podcast, available on Spotify, Apple, or the podcast of your choosing. We push everything out through Anchor, so it does touch every platform possible for the most part. So check that out. They're about 20 minutes breakdowns of each of the divisions. There's a lot of humor in there, so I think you'll enjoy that, courtesy of Junior. So please check that out. We will be back Friday night at 9 o'clock for our regularly scheduled time slot for bets, which will preview 10 to 15 games that we like for the weekend betting. And so we'll go through that with all you guys. And then we're going to be looking at the Final Four as well. NCAA is kind of coming to an end here. UCLA with a huge upset.
Big.
Just massive upset. So we'll be previewing those games as well. And I think that's it. So we're going to wrap it here. We want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, if you got some value out of this, please comment, like, subscribe to our channel. We're going to continue cranking on as much content and hopefully give you what you're looking for out of this program. For everybody here at Offside and Out of Bounds, I'm Adam.
I'm Junior. See you real soon.